Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Girl Gone Crypto. I have been wanting to have Sovryn on for a while. I'm very, very excited to dive into everything that they're building for Bitcoin DeFi, which is really exciting. So, Yago here is an early contributor to the Sovryn project, and we're going to be jumping into all of that. But before we do that, you're like literally in like a bomb shelter, like bunker right now. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're doing?
Yeah, you can think of it as a Bitcoin citadel. I'm in a reinforced room, which is designed to withstand rocket attack. I'm currently in Jaffa city in Israel, and we've been under rocket attack for a few days. So we moved the office into the bunker, and you're getting a little piece of, it's been spicy.
I have to say, you seem a lot calmer than I would be in similar circumstances, I feel like, so hats off to you. So
Well,
let's.
I mean, what it is if you've been in Bitcoin for long enough, you know, it's like riding a roller coaster is just boring. Rocket attacks is just another thing. It's like diamond hands.
I love it. You're like, I've been through Bitcoin bear markets. I can handle rockets.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to dive into everything you guys are building. And so maybe just to kick off, like give us a high level overview of what Sovryn is, and then we can dive into it from there.
So Sovereign is an extension of Bitcoin that provides for Bitcoin to be more than just a monetary asset. So, I think that of all the assets in the world, crypto or anything else, including the US dollar, the assets which is most likely to be, the reserve asset of the future is Bitcoin. But that's a monetary thing, right? The question is, what does the financial or economic world built around Bitcoin look like? And the idea of Sovereign is to extend the capabilities of Bitcoin so that we can build around Bitcoin a permissionless, censorship-resistant global financial system, which complements the sovereignty that Bitcoin gives you. And so that's what Sovereign is. It's this additional layer extending the capabilities of Bitcoin. And sort of to put it into really simple sort of now terms, it's DeFi for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see some of the tools you guys are building coming out, because I do think there's a lot of us that have like a pretty hefty percentage of our portfolio in Bitcoin, which, probably most of it should just be in a bunker, kind of like where you are. But, it would be nice to be able to use some of these tools like we're seeing on the Ethereum network, in these DeFi kind of protocols to help kind of like leverage the power of our Bitcoin. And so can you kind of walk us through what some of these different tools you guys are going to be building, and how, if someone is wanting to kind of use the Sovryn ecosystem to use some of these DeFi tools with their Bitcoin, what that would actually look like?
Right. So, Ethereum Ethereum has created a large assortment of really interesting technologies, which allow for disintermediation when it comes to borrowing, lending, trading, basically all the financial primitives. But for Bitcoin, that doesn't exist. Even if you're using something like wrapped Bitcoin on, a DeFi protocol, you're using a DeFi protocol, but you yourself are not using DeFi because you are using an asset that is controlled entirely by a centralized intermediary. So what does Sovryn provide? So Sovryn is live and is being used now with a very, very rich set of features. It's got trading, so spot trading. It's got margin trading, so you can trade on margin, go long or short different assets. It's got borrowing. It's got lending on a assortment of assets, but most importantly on Bitcoin itself. And it's also got Bitcoin-backed stablecoins, so that you can, have basically complete freedom from the fiat system while still being able to make regular type payments. And basically the idea is that you don't ever have to sell Bitcoin. You probably wouldn't want to sell Bitcoin, but if you're living on Bitcoin, you need to have a way to, like, I'm all in on Bitcoin, but I would like to have more Bitcoin. And I can't buy more Bitcoin because I don't have any fiat. So what Sovereign allows me to do is basically lever up my Bitcoin in this bull market using my Bitcoin as collateral, so I can get more, more Bitcoin with my Bitcoin. But it also allows me, like when I'm traveling or if I need to spend anything, instead of having to sell Bitcoin, I can also borrow on the basis of my Bitcoin, a Bitcoin-backed stablecoin, and effectively use that to pay any of my expenses. So it's a very powerful tool in that it allows you to effectively manage your entire financial life without having to go through ever go through any intermediaries again. And the way you use it is very, very simple. Sovryn is built on a Bitcoin sidechain. So it's merge mined, it's secured by the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin is the native asset, it's the only asset you ever need. There you can use other things like Ethereum or stablecoins, but you only ever need to have Bitcoin. And all you need to do is you transfer your Bitcoin onto the sidechain. If you go to the Sovryn, there are a number of front ends to the Sovryn protocol, but like one that I've been involved in building is called Sovryn.app. And I think it's the most popular one. And if you go there, you can see, you just like transfer your Bitcoin over one transaction, and now your Bitcoin's got superpowers.
I love that. Your Bitcoin has superpowers. I feel like that's like the next slogan you guys might need to use.
Well, specifically, Bitcoin already has superpowers, but now it has even more.
Right. It's getting laser eyes in addition to flight, right?
Right.
So, you mentioned the sidechain piece of things. And one thing I noticed that you guys seem to work very closely with a couple of other projects that I'm a huge fan of, Money on Chain and RSK. Can you kind of speak to that partnership and how the three of you guys kind of work together?
Yeah, so I think it's not exactly a partnership. So, we're building on the rootstock sidechain. And I think the way Sovryn is designed is it takes advantage of the key properties which rootstock have created, which is the fact that it's EVM compatible. You can build smart contracts, but everything is Bitcoin native and secured by the Bitcoin miners. But because it's a permissionless system, and because Sovryn itself isn't like a company, partnerships, to the extent that they exist, are completely different. So, for example, every single decision that is made gets made by the community. And so Money on Chain, a Bitcoin stablecoin project, recently proposed a SIP, a sovereign improvement proposal, to add mock token to the Sovryn protocol. And that SIP has passed now. And so very, very shortly, mock will be added. So it's really cool because it's the users themselves who are driving the development, and as a result, like the progress has been extremely fast because, if you start a company, you kind of have to go and you have to hire people. And Sovryn has been so exciting to so many people because, like, I think the feeling everyone gets is like, finally, like this is such an obvious thing for Bitcoin that it's drawn a huge amount of talent who are working on the Sovryn protocol or working on protocols that are integrating with Sovryn.
So in terms of kind of where you guys have been, where you guys are kind of going. So Pomp invested really heavily in you guys, which I thought was really cool. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about like what building the platform has looked like kind of up until this point, and then what's kind of some of the stuff that the team's currently working on right now too?
Yeah, so I got into Sovryn because a couple of my friends showed us some work that they had done on building basically a governance system for a Bitcoin-based financial ecosystem. And this was like in the middle of last year, and that was based on some conversations that we were been having about how, like the thing that's really missing from Bitcoin is the ability to remove intermediaries entirely, get rid of exchanges and lending systems and Wall Street, and be able to use Bitcoin in the spirit of Bitcoin. And so I got really excited, and I think so I kind of like basically dropped everything else I was doing and started working on Sovryn. And then what we've been seeing is, like the first sort of testnet version launched in October of last year. That started getting people excited. We started seeing more and more people starting to review the code, collaborate, and it's just gone parabolic. So despite the fact that, so Bitcoiners are very safety conscious. Like in the crypto space, probably the Bitcoin community is the most safety conscious community.
Right.
So the move fast and break things attitude that some other projects has been absent in Sovryn.
Right.
And despite that, over the last 4 or 5 months, the project has gone from, this like testnet version to being live in alpha now with tens of thousands of users, tens of billions of dollars in assets being managed by the system for, with the users. And then, has been attracting a lot of attention. Anthony Papliano, basically what happened is I was on a conversation with him on a podcast, just like I am with you now. And then when the call ended, he said, "Can you stay a bit?" And we ended up speaking for an hour and a half, after which 2 days later, he wrote a SIP and put his own proposal forward to the Sovryn community and said, I want in. And so then he was joined by a bunch of Bitcoin miners, by BitMEX exchange, a number of other exchanges, and a whole slew of market participants who see this and realize that this is potentially the future of finance, and I think want to be engaged.
I love that story. That's so fun. And just really speaks to, like you said, like the importance of what you guys are working on and building and the role that it could potentially play in the entire financial ecosystem, for years to come. And so one thing that I really want to dive into a little bit is the SOV token itself. And so can you kind of walk us through that? Like, what are the tokenomics? What role does it play in the Sovryn ecosystem? Because obviously, like, you guys are primarily a Bitcoin project, but I see recently you guys are looking to kind of bridge to like Ethereum and maybe Binance as well. And so kind of walk us through everything that's happening with the SOV token.
So the goal of the SOV token is to act as a coordination tool for the system and to manage the incentives and risks within the system. So SOV is not a coin and isn't used for payments. You don't need, like the vast majority of users will never need SOV in order to just use the tools that the protocol provides. However, if you want to have a stake in the protocol and participate in the protocol from a governance perspective and earn the fees that the protocol generates, then SOV becomes your tool to do that.
Got it.
And so the way to think about Sovryn is it is a protocol, it's a decentralized protocol, but it's not like Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a base layer protocol which is designed to be money. And so one of the most important things in money, at least if you are a Bitcoiner, is that it doesn't change, right? You want to know that it's going to basically be like a law of nature, block after block for generations, operating in the same way with perfect reliability. On the other hand, if you're building something like Sovryn, which is higher up in the stack and is like an application layer, you want it to be able to evolve and react to potential risks with greater speed. So you need to have more governance.
Right.
And so that's the one primary component of the SOV system. And the way that works is users can earn SOV by interacting with the Sovryn protocol. So that's basically how the Sovryn protocol gets distributed. And then they can stake. And what's interesting about the Bitocracy, or which is basically governance secured by Bitcoin. What's interesting about Bitocracy is it's designed to incentivize long-term thinking. So you stake, but the longer you stake for, the more weight you have in the system, and also the more fees you earn. And so the whole system is designed to incentivize extremely long-term thinking and protect the system from any sort of short-termism or short-term flash governance attacks. And the other big thing that SOV is used for and this isn't currently implemented, but will be quite shortly, is to create a trustless Bitcoin peg. So it acts as a collateral, allowing people to transfer their Bitcoin over to Sovryn, and know that no one can steal their Bitcoin because they'd lose more SOV than they would gain in Bitcoin.
Got it. No, thanks for walking us through all of those different pieces of the SOV token. And so another thing that I saw on your Twitter that I just think is really fun, I'd love to have you tell us a little bit more about it, is the Sovrathon, the big hackathon that is coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, I think what really attracted me to Bitcoin early on was, among other things, the fact that the community was so focused on innovation, a sense of adventure, and a sense of reconstructing the status quo, right? And so what Sovryn is it's going to be, I think, the biggest hackathon of its kind, not only in Bitcoin, but in anywhere. Certainly the biggest hackathon that's ever been in Gitcoin. And it's a way for developers from around the world to come and win over $500,000 in prizes for doing things like Lightning Network integration, enhancing the privacy, and basically to learn how to build on Bitcoin using the highly expressive tools that the rootstock EVM and Sovryn provide, as well as a whole bunch of other partners.
Got it. So I'll definitely link to that below. So if anyone's wanting to check that out, they can go find all the details. So just to kind of wrap up, I'd love to hear, I know you've talked a little bit about what you guys are currently working on, but like what's kind of coming next for Sovryn? What's next on the roadmap? What's the team really excited about right now? Just give us a little glimpse into what people can expect.
So there's a huge amount of stuff coming on,
Sure.
but there's no actual official roadmap because it kind of is, like what was the roadmap of Manhattan when it was just being built, right? Like it's like whatever people come and build, that's what there's going to be. But I a lot of what I do is spend my time trying to help coordinate different people in the community and sort of understanding the amount of stuff that is coming is insane. There's new types like decentralized perpetual swaps is something that I've seen, new ways of lending and borrowing Bitcoin that I think are going to blow people's minds, new ways of aggregating liquidity. And then like in the very, very near term, there is liquidity mining opportunities and SOV distribution systems. Like, for example, which also I think are going to be, there's going to be a lot of innovation and substantial amount of value that is going to be distributed. But like, there's also cool things like the world's first decentralized referral system. So, it's the slogan is give your friends the gift of sovereignty, but make money doing it. So there's that. There's a rebate system so that you can like earn on the basis of trading on Sovryn participation in the Sovryn system. There's bridges, like you mentioned, to Ethereum and Binance. And basically, the idea is to be able to bring in any form of liquidity. And then there's like a whole bunch of stuff which I've been sworn to secrecy about, which I think is going to also blow people's minds. So I don't remember ever being this excited about anything since maybe 2013, 2011 Bitcoin. It's very young, it's very fresh, and the community is so dedicated and hardcore and long-term focused. It's really, it's a real privilege to be part of something like this.
That I am so excited to continue watching you guys and see like everything that comes out and continues to develop. So Yago, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and really break this down for people. Obviously, the big DeFi boom we've seen this last year has been incredible. And so now to see a lot of these tools coming to Bitcoin is very, very cool. So if someone is watching this and they want to learn more about Sovryn and get connected with the community, where's the next best place for them to go?
So I'm particularly partial to the website that I've helped build, which is sovryn.app, and I think is the most popular place. There's also an amazing wiki, which has been put together by the community. On Twitter, you can follow Sovryn. So Sovryn BTC. It's the Sovryn Twitter account. And if you're interested in sort of what I'm doing, it's at Edan, Edan Yago, Yago.
Awesome. Well, Yago, thank you again. And please do stay safe in your bunker over there. Sending good thoughts.
Citadel.
Citadel, correct. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Yago.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much.